Yes, we are live. That means it's orange and blue today. Hi, Andrew Mason.
Hi, Cecil, Lammey. Can you just cut me off here for about 30 seconds? I heard something on my mic.
Okay. He's got a countdown going on. Orange and blue today. How hot should the Bo Nix talk be? How great can this young man be? What today's show is all about, and we are here to discuss it as per usual. Orange and blue today. And I got to say, the Bo Nix hype train, it's funny to watch and to kind of witness, because Mason and I have been there from day one, essentially, from the Senior Bowl. And it's interesting to note the hype train has gone from some of like, he's the sixth quarterback, he's number 12, and then to, he could be the best quarterback in this draft class. So, Mace, we're going to talk about how great this young man can be. We're seeing some signs of greatness, but we also know that it's early and Nick still has a lot of growing to do.
Pull the hype train back into third gear a little bit here. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff. And yes, he should be starting week one.
Yes.
He is the Broncos' best quarterback option right now.
Yes.
Based on what we've seen. And by and large, he's going to keep this offense on schedule, on time, in a way that last year's starting quarterback for 15 games did not. So there's a lot there, but I'm always going to have a sense of skepticism about anything beyond kind of the short-term moment until we see how defenses adjust to him and then how he and the Broncos adjust to those defenses, because there will be looks and there will be schemes that will confound him, and there will be bad games coming. And how do you react to that? A lot of quarterbacks have looked really good, whether it's in the preseason or in their first couple of starts, but then you see defenses adjust and know what's the counter move. I mean, Drew Lock looked great in his second start, and then teams adjusted.
You know who had a good preseason last year? Kenny Pickett. Now, I think Bo Nix is better than Kenny Pickett, obviously. Yeah. Kenny Pickett should not have been drafted in the first round, but whatever. But it's like, we're not going to get too high with the highs. We're not going to get too low with the lows, Mace, but we're excited. We're intrigued. We have optimism. And that's why I think people should be this whole, like, he's going to be the best in this class. It's flipping August. We can stop with that.
There's also a scenario, if you really want to play out the long-term thing, there's a scenario where he's third best in the class, and that still ends up meaning he's a really good NFL quarterback. So it's now that we're here nearly 48 hours from the game. There was a lot to be excited about. There's a lot to be optimistic about, but that's why I asked Cortland Sutton specifically after the game about Bo Nix handling adversity, because there are going to be bad days. Just because we haven't seen them manifest in preseason play yet doesn't mean that they're not coming at some point. Right. And how will we handle that? And that's, I mean, you go the thing that Bill Belichick was saying yesterday. The one thing, if you start Bo Nix right away, is that you don't have the ability to go back realistically, because if you do bench him, then that leads to all sorts of questions. This isn't 1983 where you could start John Elway and have Steve DeBerg in the bullpen basically the entire season and then not lose sight of the path that John Elway was the franchise's future. It's a different time. There's a little bit more expected now, and frankly, less patience.
Yes.
In part because of the rookie contract and the runway that isn't as long as it used to be.
You got to get going because they're not making much. comparatively speaking, to what they will be making. Did you happen to see, Mace, the Tom Brady, like, they don't develop anybody anymore clip that's been going around over the last couple of days?
No, I didn't.
He's just complaining about how, I was developed and I had to wait at Michigan and I was the seventh string. Like, oh, and I definitely get that. And I generally would agree with Tom about that. I think with Bo's case, it's the experience in college. It's the 61 games started. Like, he's ahead of where other rookies are because he's played a hell of a lot more than other rookies have entering this league.
He's simply seen more at this point. Now, that doesn't mean he's seen everything he needs to see, because college and pro football, frankly, they could be considered different sports at this point, different styles of play by and large. So the other thing with Tom Brady, it's fascinating to look back on that, because New England's plan was not to put Tom Brady in 2 games into the 2001 season. The plan for Brady that year was to sit. And, oh, by the way, they had just extended Drew Bledsoe. Tom Brady was very much the Bob Ross happy accident in how things worked. That was not the plan. Don't let anybody tell you that Brady leading the Patriots to the Super Bowl that year, like that they knew, no. If they knew that they had something like that in Tom Brady, they would not have extended Drew Bledsoe just months earlier.
Right.
That was one of the big conclusions for Bill Belichick out of his first season with the Patriots, was that Drew Bledsoe was his guy. And then he got injured, and then Tom Brady came in and Wally pipped him.
Yep. And even Brady got hurt in that game against the Steelers in the playoffs. And my brain immediately went, yay, who's the backup? Oh, God, it's Drew Bledsoe.
And Patriots won the game, even though Bledsoe basically came in cold. He hadn't played in 3.5 months. Didn't matter.
Yeah. Did not matter.
And it was a legitimate controversy as to who should start the Super Bowl that week.
Yes, for sure.
That was the dominant topic. Should it be Tom Brady or Drew Bledsoe? Because there's the whole thing. You don't lose your job because of injury, right? And Bledsoe had done well in the championship game. And I think Belichick took it to Thursday of that week before saying it was Tom Brady starting the game.
Yeah, sounds about right. It'd be nice to have those type of conversations, but we're here with the Bo Nix conversation. And the thing is, Mike kind of brings it up here, Mace, too. It's like, when Nix struggles, we're going to tell you why. We're not going to abandon ship. Right now, I think too many people are jumping on the ship. It's like, just let him play, let him learn. Because I was talking to Matt Waldman earlier today, Mace, and he keeps bringing up Matt Ryan. He swears that Bo Nix is Matt Ryan. I see more like Jared Goff, but whatever. Matt Ryan's a hell of a quarterback, league MVP. It would be nice, but as Matt said, he's incrementally better. Every stop he's been in, he's incrementally better. So let's give him time.
The interesting thing about Matt Ryan as well, the MVP season came in the moment where he had the perfect scheme for his skill set when Kyle Shanahan came in. A lot of good years without Kyle Shanahan, no doubt, but that's when, you could argue the Shanahan-McVay offense is one that elevates the quarterbacks that run it a level above their natural state. You could probably say the same thing about the Sean Payton offense and teaching him what he does. I mean, look at, for example, how Teddy Bridgewater looked when he came in for Drew Brees back in 2019. Effectively, Teddy played his way into a starter's contract the following year based on what he did in that scheme, which was better than he had done in Minnesota.
Yes. Mace, I hate to give you another article, but brother, I want to see your brain dump on that subject alone, because look at Jameis Winston.
Yes.
Right. And we always talk about Shanahan. I think all of us need to start talking about Payton's offense too.
Well, I mean, it goes back decades. Look at Kerry Collins in 2000. Revitalized him. That's why, for those 3 days leading up to the draft, the notion of, does Sean Payton see Zach Wilson as another Kerry Collins, Teddy Bridgewater, even Jameis Winston type of quarterback that he's going to try to revive? And actually, let's play this clip here. Sean Payton talks about Zach Wilson on the podcast where he joined Chase Daniel and Diana Rossini a few days ago. They dropped the video and audio today. Listen to what Sean Payton says about Zach Wilson, and listen with the context of what he said early in camp when I asked him about Zach Wilson, and he gave that very, not much of a complimentary answer. Basically, like, couldn't really pinpoint something he was doing well. Now compare that to how Sean Payton sounds talking about Zach Wilson.
This frickin' Zach Wilson now, the last week and a half.
That's great.
I grabbed him and I said, look, I just want you to focus on having fun and playing. My job is to make you millions either with us or for another team.
Wow.
His last 2 weeks have been outstanding.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a couple of things going on here. Okay. Wants to get him in the position where he makes millions. Okay. How will Zach Wilson be in a position to make millions? There has to be some playing time.
Yes.
So, I mean, I can't believe I'm thinking this, but the brainwave I had listening to that is, what if it's only two quarterbacks and it's Nix and Wilson and not Stidham? And then if Nix gets injured, Wilson comes in and gets that relief stint like a Teddy Bridgewater did.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is also just he could be the backup like Sam Darnold was last year with the 49ers, and that could earn him $10 million. But I'm not sure that simply being a backup for 17 games, 18 weeks, and not getting on the field is going to get Zach Wilson into that contract where he's making millions, like Sean Payton suggests.
Right.
So when I heard that, I'm like, that's a really interesting comment there.
A lot of praise.
Yes. And Zach Wilson has gotten better. Like, first week, I mean, not great. Now, it wasn't the best of times for him on Sunday night. Under duress, Will Sherman in particular, that led to the safety. That's the 2 on the scoreboard that prevented the Broncos from a shutout on Sunday night. But by and large, he has gotten better, even though they haven't given him much in the way of move the ball reps. There's a legitimate argument, if you think Zach Wilson is ready to step in if needed, there's a legitimate argument that Zach Wilson could be the second team quarterback, and the Broncos only carry 2 quarterbacks on the roster, and they get some cap savings on Jarrett Stidham. That would not surprise me at this point.
And outside of the let's flip and go play from Stidham last week in practice, Mace, we haven't really seen him go for it. He's had all these opportunities.
He had the touchdown run on Sunday.
Okay. But I want to see him go for it with his arm. And it seems like all the time there's nothing wrong with this per se, but if you're in a quarterback competition, once in a while you could take a chance. And he seems to be risk averse.
Yeah. And I guess you can understand why he'd be risk averse, because he's taken some risks in some of his starts and they haven't worked out very well. Some of that has been holding on to the ball too long. This is the other thing on Jarrett Stidham. In his 4 starts, high sack rate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of those starts, they were without Mike McGlinchey. They had to play Cam Fleming at right tackle. So that did not necessarily help. But it was interesting to look back at Jarrett Stidham's 2 games following Russell Wilson's 15 and see that the glitches weren't really fixed by putting in Jarrett Stidham. The offense wasn't crisper, wasn't more effective. And it's only 2 games, but I think that was enough to provide a reminder that Jarrett Stidham is who he is. Whereas with Zach Wilson, interesting to watch him, particularly in the Indianapolis game, just kind of settle in, go through his progressions, make some quick decisions. Zach Wilson actually looked comfortable in this offense in a way that I didn't expect. Now, that being said, there's things he's got to work on. He's still, has some of the habits in terms of moving around and opening himself up to sacks as the play progresses that you're not really fond of.
Mm-hmm.
But by and large, he hasn't looked bad.
Hasn't looked bad. And, I have to back up because you said, well, hold up there, partner. We fixed the glitch.
Yes.
David.
All right. Yeah, here's a good question from David. What are the limitations you currently see? Not what could happen, because we don't know what we don't know yet. The limitations on Bo Nix, particularly.
Bo Nix, right. What does he need to get better at, Mace? I will say this. He missed a wide open Greg Dulcich on the play to Javonte that was called back. That was a touchdown. He extends the play, and everybody goes, yay. Look at the middle of the field. Dulcich is his fourth read, so I don't want to bang on a kid too much for he didn't get to his fourth read. But he steps up. Dulcich is right there. And he extends the play to his left and then crosses the line, throws to Javonte. Give him an A for effort, whatever line of scrimmage thing. I consider that a plus play, Mace, because it shows what he could do. But I'll tell you what he could do. Step up and see Dulcich right there. Wide open, and it at least would have been in the 5, if not a touchdown.
Well, it's one of those things that coaches are going to sort of bring this up, and it is nitpicking because the result of the play was positive. So you're pleased with that, but it could have been better. It's okay. It's the B plus versus the A plus.
Right.
It's a B plus play, but there was a chance for it to be A plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's that you look at. I'd still like to see pushing it downfield more when the opportunity arises. We've seen glimpses of that in practice. You're never going to go broke taking a small profit play after play, and I think that's something that everyone ought to get used to. But if you're going to get some of the pressure off short intermediate coverage, if you're gonna draw the safeties back, you're gonna have to have the threat of going over the top. The closest we saw was that pass to last Sunday. The closest we saw was that pass to Courtland Sutton for 23 yards early in the second quarter. The thing is, Bo, arm-wise, he has that club. I mean, it may not. It's not Patrick Mahomes in terms of the deep ball, but he can get it there. He does have that club in his bag. And so I think we'll see it manifest over time. We just haven't seen it frequently yet.
Yeah. And there's been plays against Green Bay specifically where Tim Patrick's on an under route and then Courtland Sutton's on an over route, and he throws to Patrick when Sutton's wide open too. So he had both open, and the flat defender was waiting because Patrick actually got held up at the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. So he couldn't get to the spot on time. If Patrick was on time, that he's covered and he goes to Sutton. But I wouldn't mind in that instance, Mace, where flat defender's standing by himself, Sutton's wide open behind him, Patrick's wide open to his right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind a throw to Sutton. These are nitpicking, but as he gets older and wiser in the NFL terms, I imagine he'll be more attack focused.
Well, the other thing is also there's a school of thought that says kind of add to it as you go on, build a base and then build up and out from there. So what you can see developing are some core competencies and some bread and butter things that are going to work in this offense. I mean, I think the 8 to 10 yard slant is going to be bread and butter for this team.
Yep.
I think the screen pass, and we're already seeing it's being set up better. He's placing it better. And what's interesting, Cecil, is watching how with him being more accurate on screens, it seems like the entire operation, including the offensive lineman fanning out, is more efficient as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you look out there and you see Bowles and you see Throckmorton and you see not Bowles. You see Wattenberg, Throckmorton, and Miners on one play, and they just all fan out. They block their guys and there's space, and all of a sudden you have a nice play. It's the entire operation appears to be smoother.
Yes.
And I think that's another thing. It's an intangible thing on Bo Nix, but I think it's something that is palpable to how the progress that he's made so far.
Yeah. You know what's beautiful, man? As I go snowball on this show.
Oh my! I can't believe you actually said it.
People have to understand the reference, but I'll say what's beautiful in watching the Packers game.
Yeah,
multiple receivers were open.
Mm.
It's giving me chills just talking about it, man. Like, it's this offense and this system. Like, do they manufacture some completions? Yes, of course, but there's multiple options that are open, and Bo Nix is finding them.
There were coverage deficiencies, though, too.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think that led to some of the open receivers that you saw. Experienced guys like Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick should be getting open. Mm-hmm. I got a question for you because it did come up to me on social media today. I mean, it's
sure.
If Marvin Mims Jr. could figure things out, how much would that open things up to?
Even more so, because he's the speed guy. You know, he's your Brandon Cooks type of guy. If he could figure it out,
like that's when you have Josh Reynolds, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick. You've got guys that can, they can outreach people. They can pluck. They can get open, short to intermediate. But the style of Bo Nix is probably not going to lend itself to the home run type of passes that we saw Russell Wilson hitting Cortland Sutton on. So where does the home run ball come from time to time? Or just the threat of it to keep the defense honest.
Yeah.
It's most likely it's going to come from Marvin Mims Jr., but he's got to add branches to the route tree so he can be used more than just as the home run threat. And when he goes out there, it may well be if he can't kind of expand what he does it reach a point where when he's out there, it's sort of like when Jaleel McLaughlin was out there last year, like, okay, this, better watch for him on the 9-ball or watch for him on the fly sweep.
Here comes an end around.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to tell when Mims is out there. He's got to get much better as a route runner. And here's what happens, Mace. If Mims gets it, you're using less tight ends. I think Greg Dulcich will be in for a lot of action, provided he can stay healthy. Kroll will get some work. But you'll use less tight ends. I'll learn how to speak English. The Broncos will use less tight ends if Mims, quote unquote, gets it.
Yeah. Which is interesting because that's not really a Sean Payton thing. Sean Payton likes his 11 personnel, likes it very much, historically speaking.
Yep. If he could have his way, Mims would be the difference maker. But right now, we're not seeing that yet.
Yeah. And that's actually like one when I think, okay, what's missing from this offense? I think it's that we haven't seen. I mean, I can't recall more than a couple of notable plays from Marvin Mims this training camp. Let alone the preseason
him getting
game.
Yelled at.
Yes. I can recall the helmet being thrown.
Yeah. It's not the offseason, not the training camp you want.
It's been a frustrating camp, apparently, based on what the indications we're seeing for Marvin Mims Jr. And right now, based on what we saw on Sunday night, for example, he looks like wide receiver 4, which definitely puts a cap on how many reps you're going to get. Because again, 11 personnel.
Right. What do you think of the Drew Brees comparison? We got the audio to play.
Okay.
But Chase Daniel, who I certainly respect, talked to him at my very first Shrine Bowl. Mace, he's down there in Houston. And it looked like a little mini Ben Roethlisberger. But, so I certainly respect Chase Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm personally uncomfortable with the Drew Brees comparisons, but let's hear from Chase, and then we'll get your opinion if Nix is like Brees.
I spent 7 years in this offense, in this Sean Payton offense. I was in the quarterback meeting room with Bo on Thursday night before their joint practices on Friday against the Packers. And so I know the offense. It really hasn't changed. There's definitely some tweaks to it. But just watching Bo Nix on film, the way he operates the offense, the way he gets in and out of the huddle, the way he's able to get through progressions already at a clip that reminds me a lot of Drew Brees, and the way he operates the offense. So it's really cool to see that. And quite honestly, Mark, right? Like, a quarterback is judged on one thing and one thing only. Can you get the ball into the end zone when you're on offense? And Bo Nix has scored on like 7 of 8 drives in the preseason, or 6 of 7 drives in the preseason. So they're scoring the football. Now, I get it. This is against backups and this is preseason, but you want to be able to start really well. If you remember, man, I think it was 2016 when Dak Prescott was coming out, or whatever year he came out. He had an unbelievable preseason, and it was against backups, but he continued to build on that rookie season and had one of the better rookie seasons, I think, that a young quarterback's had in a long time. Now, I'm not saying Bo Nix is going to be able to do that, but it's fun to see on film the progression, even from his first practice now to his second game.
There's Chase Daniel.
I get a little nervous about the Brees comparison because of what it entails. Chase Daniel, though, is a really informed person on this because he ran this offense for 5 years, was in the QB room for 5 years. He was 2009 through 2012, and then 2017 was back in New Orleans. So from him, it's not something that I dismiss as easily as I dismiss it from others. He's in a pretty unique position to understand.
Yeah. And he seems genuinely excited. So again, the genuine excitement is real. And for me, Mace, I don't really care about the opinions that are out there, but I'll say that I believe the jumping on the bandwagon just happens because so many people were wrong about the Bo pick. They're losing their minds over this draft pick. It's like the people with the Penix pick. All the problems that Atlanta had, remember, because before the draft, they're like, what are they going to do at edge? What are they going to do at safety? They've solved now with guys like Justin Simmons adding. So the Penix pick, people lose their mind over some picks. I say this very ironically, but I think it's the people were so wrong about Bo, and now they see what he can be, and the bandwagon's getting full.
Well, the other thing on Atlanta is that they looked at a quarterback deficiency on their roster and said, we're going to get it right now. We're going to get it right in the future. Mm-hmm. How many times has a team had their most prominent free agent signing and then their initial first round pick be at the same position like that, let alone quarterback?
Yeah. Doesn't happen.
And then, we're sitting here in mid-August and the Falcons feel pretty good about their chances. So they trade for Matthew Judon and they sign Justin Simmons because all of a sudden, because they got the most important thing right, short and long term, they're like, we can do this here. We can make some moves because we feel like we're close. Now, that being said, they also benefit from being in a much lower rent neighborhood than the Broncos are. Unfortunately, the Broncos, for all the progress we've seen, they're in the Polo Club neighborhood. And
they're in Cherry Hills.
Yeah, and you know what? The thing is, they have a house that if it were in, it's just a, your standard 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage place in Highlands Ranch, right? Fine house, nothing wrong with it. Great, great, everything you need. But if you plop that thing in Cherry Hills Village, you're gonna look around and be like, oh God. The Falcons and the Broncos, they have the same kind of house right now, but the Falcons' house is in Highlands Ranch, where it fits right in, and maybe is a little nicer because they've spruced it up. They've done some renovations on it. They've updated the cabinets and the counter. They got granite countertops, all that sort of thing. And the Broncos, they're looking around and they're looking at all these mansions like, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
the Broncos aren't in a good neighborhood right now for them to succeed. I mean, I think if you plop this Broncos team in the NFC, I would feel pretty good about saying this team pushes for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
In the AFC, I can't say that.
Yeah, put Atlanta in the AFC West. And what's our conversation? It's still going to be rough. Put Denver
Similar
in
conversation,
the NFC South.
similar conversation to the Broncos, right?
Yep.
So it's just it's an unfortunate consequence of other things that have gone on beyond the Broncos' control. It's why they had to pick Bo Nix, and why playing the long game to maximize him is the best play, and having a long range view, not getting too crazy as the season goes on over the highs and lows. And yeah, we may want to get crazy over the highs, but I think we consciously have to keep things reasonable here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe I gotta see it for multiple games in a row. I've got to see what happens after a bad game. I've got to see what happens when you start losing members of the supporting cast to injury. Got to see what happens in a game that's a shootout.
Got to see what happens when they take your favorite thing away.
Yes.
When it comes on them, about week 5, week 6.
When the book gets out there, I'd even say, because for all the Jets' dysfunction, they should have a pretty good defense. Robert Saleh can cook up a good game plan. I'd say you get to that point of the season, that's where there'll be a book out enough to where I'm fascinated to see what the tactics are in that game in MetLife Stadium.
Yeah. See how they adjust and see how Bo does. As the Broncos starter, the chat room is asking, will he name it tomorrow? I still haven't got the email, Mace. Have you got the email about
the schedule?
Did they send it already or no?
I had not gotten it as of like an hour ago.
Okay. I'll do a live check right now. Nope.
Nope, nothing there. I mean, we have the weekly release, which by the way included the unofficial depth chart.
Okay.
The unofficial depth chart is unchanged.
Sounds about right.
What they do, not what they say.
So are you saying tomorrow he'll say it or no? You want a little taco bet on this? Because I'm going to say no. I say he doesn't say it tomorrow.
A couple of days ago, or a week ago, I thought he would say it. I'm starting to think he might dig in and not say it.
That sounds about right.
Like just to mess with everybody.
Just to show you who's in charge.
Yes.
Okay.
The question is, though, how do they disperse the snaps tomorrow and the rest of the week? Because to me, the reason why you would say Bo Nix is the starter is to say, here are 3 days of first team reps. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Full stop. That's it. If Jarrett Stidham has first team reps for one of the days or 2 of the days, does that do anybody any good? Really? I might even argue that you're better off giving Zach Wilson a day with the ones than Bo Nix. Now, that would be really interesting. I don't think we'll see that, but that would be a spicy meatball.
Yeah.
If Sean threw that curveball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. You know what? It's probably good for traffic and speculation and podcasts and sports talk radio if he doesn't name the starter tomorrow, because it gives people something to talk about, which maybe if he hears that, oh, well, then I'm going to name the starter.
Yeah. I'm going to do the opposite of what you said I was going to do. Just to keep you guessing.
Yes.
That's right.
Excellent, Smithers.
It is excellent. By the way, I was going to send it to you. Totally off subject.
Okay.
AI did a video of a Simpsons movie if it was made in the 80s. And I think like Neil Patrick Harris was Smithers. It wasn't Smithers.
Yeah, like Adam Sandler's Homer.
Yes.
Kristen Wiig as Marge. I saw it. It was creepy as hell.
Yeah, that's our future AI overlords. Anyway, our future YouTube overlords. We certainly appreciate. Mace.
There's going to be an AI version of this show at some point.
Oh boy.
Oh god.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that.
I don't either.
But either way, I know I like you. I know I like this show.
I like you too. I like you watching. Thank you.
Yay!
Because you're still here as we're prattling on with nonsense now
about Simpsons and stuff. It's the way our brains work.
Anyway. We save it for the end, at least.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. You're here with us. Still get the what does OBT's BFD thing mean? I'm like, just look it up. I can't say what it means.
Well, I can't say it. Orange and blue today is a big bleeping deal. That's
big flipping deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Flipping deal, frickin' deal, whatever, frickin' frack.
Oh, that's right. He's Andrew Mason. I am Cecil Lammey. This is Orange Blue today. But before we're out of here, Mace, we need their help on YouTube. How can they do that?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never
miss
a
vid. I love when we're on time like that. Anyway, he's Andrew Mason. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks. Stay tuned. Stay frosty.